Mijn naam is Jody Keuler van PR-bureau Coopr en ik zit hier vandaag met niemand minder dan Gini Dietrich. Hi Gini, welcome.
Thank you.
My first question is a very easy one. Do you want to introduce yourself towards the audience or do you want me to introduce you? You can pick.
I'd like you to do it, but do it in Dutch.
You can do it in Dutch. Gini Dietrich is CEO van Arment Dietrich, een geïntegreerd marketingcommunicatiebureau in Chicago, Amerika. Zij is head blogger voor Spinsax. Zij is podcaster voor Inside PR, een van mijn favoriete PR-podcasts. En zij is de co-author samen met Jeff Livingston van het boek Marketing in the Round. En ik praat toch in het Nederlands, dus dat snapt ze niet. Gek op fietsen, gek op haar hond Jack Bauer. En misschien wel een vriendin die ik nog nooit eerder heb ontmoet, maar het klikt. So that's a Dutch introduction.
That's
so
pretty good.
Really
I got most of it.
I can translate it for you later on. That's no problem. So
I like how you say Dietrich. It's throaty.
Yeah, that's the sound. From your
I don't
last
think
name.
I can do it.
Yeah.
But.
So I want to discuss three things for you, with you. Of course, the book. That's the first.
Okay.
Spinsax, the blog, and talk about PR and the future of PR.
Okay.
So let's start with the book, Marketing in the Round. In a nutshell, can you explain what the book is about?
Well, it's really about, I think it's twofold. One is, breaking down organizational silos so that you can integrate marketing and communications throughout the entire organization, because with social, it really has become the role of everyone. It's become the communicator's role, the customer service role, the sales role, the HR role. And if you have these silos of these disciplines and you're not talking to one another, social's not going to work.
Okay.
And the other piece of it really is that integration, and how do you choose the right approaches from a marketing and communications perspective in order to integrate social into the overall marketing program.
So I read the book, and if you finish it, it's quite clear. The message is quite clear, the core message is quite clear. It's very difficult to go to the office and integrate everything you share within the book. So how do you start?
Well, I think you have to do two things initially. The first is get executive buy-in.
Okay.
And if you get executive buy-in, that really, if you can build the business case, and think about it from the perspective of, are there companies that your executives want to be like as the company grows? Mm-hmm. And if there are, a lot of people want to be like Apple, of course, because they're global and I think they sit on more cash than most countries. That's a good example, but how are they using the tools or the approaches that you want to use, and build the business case based on that so that you can then present it to the executives and get the buy-in. And then you really have to create what we have called the marketing round. So it's a group of people who come from all the different disciplines and how they interact and work together in order to break down those silos and actually build that integration into the whole organization.
Okay, so in the book you talk about the marketing hub as well. Mm-hmm. People in that hub, do they need certain skills to be successful?
I think the person in the hub, and of course you know this as well, as a communications professional, I would love it to be us, but I don't know that it necessarily can be us all the time, because I think the person in the hub needs to understand how all of the disciplines work together. So not necessarily how to do it. Like if somebody came to me and said, we need you to do pay-per-click, I would say, great, I have a person that can do that, but for me to go out and do it, I couldn't do it. I don't think. Or I don't, at this point in my career, don't want to learn how to do it.
That's it.
But you really need to understand, when to bring in those different specialists, when to bring in the different disciplines, how they all work together, and how that becomes sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, symphony.
Okay. So is it then a desired skill, or just a management skill, or a people skill?
Yes.
A combination of...
I think it is a combination, yeah.
Okay, that's most
It's a leadership skill.
Okay. So that's also something, because within the marketing hub and marketing in the round, you ask certain departments to work together, and to coincide, work together. So what you try to do is to let PR professionals work with marketing professionals. Seems like a very tough job to realize. What's the biggest struggle you find there?
I think the biggest struggle is that people fear change, and oh my gosh, well, it's the whole idea that if I hold on to this knowledge is power, and what people fail to realize is that knowledge, when you're holding on to that knowledge, you really are isolating yourself. Okay. And when you isolate yourself, you're at risk of losing your job, because people don't want to work with you if you continue to hold on to that and don't share. So it really is, how do we get past this whole idea of where we have to change, and how do we put that aside and actually begin to work with one another?
Okay. in the book, you also reference Musashi's, the Book of Five Rings. Can you explain the viewers a bit more about that book?
So the Five Rings really is Japanese war, and what he talks about in there are the 5 different approaches to war. And so Jeff Livingston is a big fan of that philosophy, which he brought me along with.
Okay, he came with that idea.
Yeah,
Doing something
he
with
definitely
Musashi.
came with that
Okay.
idea. I'm not a Japanese war specialist by any stretch of the imagination. And what we did is we looked at that and we said, okay, marketing really is like a war. How do you bring in the different disciplines or the different parts of the military to help win the war? Same thing with marketing. So we wanted to look at it to see if there were 5 different approaches that you could use. And what we found was that it's really 4. You have the top down, which is traditional PR. You have the bottom up, which is the groundswell, which we all learned from Josh Bernoff and Charlene Lee. And then you have the flanking, which is on both sides, and then in the middle is direct. So, I mean, if you count flanking twice, then it's 5 approaches, but it really is those 4.
Okay. So how do you as an organization choose the tactic to break down the silos and reorganize the structure?
You're giving away my whole presentation.
Okay. So people, they're not
Well,
here
they
this
didn't
evening,
come,
so if
yeah,
they
right,
haven't
fair.
visited the event. But still, how do you pick? Where do you start? Where do you know?
You know, you really have to look inside your organization and figure out where you have the resources. What kinds of skills and talents do you have already? And map to those resources. So do you have people who are really good at media buying and external communications? If so, that's where you're going to start with the top down and probably a flanking. If you have people that are really good at social or with brand ambassadors and influencers, then you may start with the bottom up. And then you create your wish list. What kinds of things do we think we want to be doing? And based on that, if you don't have those resources internally, of course you can outsource that, which is why agencies like ours exist, or you can hire internally to fill those holes.
Can you name examples of companies who embraced a certain tactic successfully?
Well, I mean, I hate to keep going back to Apple, but they do direct really, really well. You know that they don't do any public relations.
No.
They don't do any social media. Lots of people on social talk about them, but they themselves don't do any of it. So they do the direct approach really, really well. And what they do is they know exactly what you buy, who you buy for, how much you spend, what kinds of music you like, what kinds of apps you like. They know everything from a technology perspective, what you like, and they target their email marketing, which is how they use their direct approach, to you, and it's a really great way.
Okay. So, how important is measurement within marketing in the round? How important
Not
is measurement for? Not at all. I think it's key, probably.
One of the things, and we've all had this conversation as communications pros, is it used to be, and I remember when PRSA, which is the trade organization, the PR organization in the States, when they came out with media impressions and advertising equivalencies, and there was, they finally had this industry-wide way or standard of measuring your results. And it was, let's take the subscription of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal and multiply it by 2.5, because we think that 2.5 people will see it because people leave the newspaper on the train or on the bus or whatever, or in doctor's offices. And so we can multiply it by 2.5, and that gives us our impression number. And everybody was so excited because we finally had a way to measure our results. But we didn't know, 10 million people don't really read your article. 10 million people may see the front page of the New York Times, but they may not flip all the way back to B2. So there was a big flaw in the system. But now with the web, we know to the minute what people are doing. And if, as communicators and marketers, we figure out how to read that data and the kinds of things we should be paying attention to, we're going to win every time.
So does that mean that should PR and marketing professionals measure the same things? Is that where maybe via measurement both disciplines come together more?
I think there's a big blurring of the lines. Marketers by trade have always measured their results, and they've done it from a true business perspective. And of course, communicators have not. But what marketers can teach communicators is that those real business values, while communicators can teach them the communication and the storytelling and those soft skills.
So after someone has read the book, what do you hope they get out of it, or they do the next day?
I really hope that they can go back to the office and help their executives understand that social is not a standalone, marketing is not a standalone, advertising is not a standalone, because of the web, and because you may be on Facebook at midnight and I may be there at 5 a.m. and if we have different skill sets, let's say you're in customer service and I'm a communicator, you're going to answer that differently than I am, but we're both participating in that conversation. So the executives really have to understand why it's important that it become a company-wide initiative and why everybody has to understand it. And the other thing is really to understand which approaches to use and how to integrate them into your larger business.
Okay. That's with regards to the book. I just want to make a small transition towards Spin Sucks, because I know a lot of viewers also read your blog. Spin Sucks. Why did you start Spin Sucks, the blog?
Well, I wish there was some great magical answer, but we started it 6 years ago because we kind of had heard a little bit of rumblings. You know, David Armano was blogging, Mitch Joel was blogging, I think Steve Rubel was blogging. There were a handful of people that were blogging, and if I remember correctly, it was all on TypePad. And so I was hearing these rumblings, you know, what's this blogging thing? And I decided that we probably should figure it out before our clients started asking about it. It was a disaster. Oh my gosh. What we had 6 years ago compared to what we have today is like night and day. But it really has taught us a lot.
You learned along the way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, nobody was talking about how to blog.
Yeah,
so you had to figure it out.
Yeah. So now everybody is waiting for you to teach them how to blog.
Yeah.
And would you say that the blog is successful, Spin Sucks, for you?
Yeah,
Because you blog daily.
I do blog daily. Sometimes I struggle with it. I've struggled a little bit for the last week and a half. I think maybe it's just the holiday.
Okay, yeah, the end of the year coming up.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very successful. It drives a ton of business for us.
Okay.
Tons of business.
Top of mind, do you know which blog post got the most comments or went really viral online? Do you have any idea? Is there one of which you know that was really very popular? People shared a lot of opinion?
Probably 5 or so that have been really like out of control, and one of them, I hate to even admit this, was last year I wrote it. I literally titled it a blog post about nothing.
Okay.
And I wrote a blog post about nothing.
And that was the magic.
I think it had something like 500 comments,
Really?
and it was ridiculous.
Oh, but fun though.
It was totally fun, but I'm like,
you going.
really, I can write a really smart post about measurement and how you guys should implement all of this,
comments.
and then I write about a blog post about nothing, and I get 500 comments.
Yeah, I can imagine. But still, it's a fun combination of sharing worthwhile information, insightful information, and the fun. Because you're also very active within the comment section. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you comment on every comment you get?
I do.
Okay.
And what's nice is, Mitch Joel wrote a blog post, I want to say in 2009, maybe 2010, but a few years ago, where he talked about community. And it's always stuck with me because what he said was, community is not you commenting and me commenting back to you. Community is you commenting and 3 other people jumping into that conversation without the author or the brand. And that's always stuck with me. So what I try to do is sort of drop little bombs in the comments to get people to talk to one another.
Okay.
And as the community has grown and I've started to get to know people personally, I know which buttons to push.
Okay.
So I can drop those in fairly easily.
So Spin Sucks will be around for the coming years, you think?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Okay. Would you say it's because a lot of people say it's a PR blog, some people say it's a PR marketing blog, even a marketing blog. How would you describe Spin Sucks yourself?
Well, we call
because
it,
spinning is very essence in communication.
It's very, and that was the whole point with the name, was we're not spin doctors, so Spin Sucks.
Okay.
But we call ourselves PR, or professional development for PR and marketing pros. So some people call it social media. I'll talk about social, but maybe only once or twice a month. I don't talk about social a lot. So.
Okay. So are you doing that on purposely? Trying to push away the big button of social media? Is Arment Dietrich a social media agency? Are you a social media guru? Or
no.
You're just very good in integrating marketing?
I love Twitter and Facebook, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to Pinterest, but I wouldn't say that. In fact, I think we do social for maybe only 2 clients.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So I know you're very active online. How is that combined with doing client work and being active on Twitter and in the comment section of your blog? How do you combine those 2 things?
Well, I work a lot. I've also learned this year to manage it really, really well because I was on the road for 6 months. Literally, it's back to back. And so when you're on the road and you're on stage and you're speaking, you don't have access to technology. You don't have access to Twitter and Facebook and your blog and all of that. So you have to manage it at times that make sense for you. So I was joking that, I was home for 3 full weeks. And it'd get to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be like, I don't have anything to do. Because I was so accustomed to doing my work in half a day.
Yeah.
That 3 o'clock would roll around, and I'd be like, okay. But I'm a true entrepreneur, so I'd find something to do.
Yeah, something else to do.
Yeah.
And there's SpinSucks Pro.
Right,
There you go.
exactly.
Learn something new.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Is it going to be a second book or second blog? Or
Yes, I think there will be a
totally
second book. Actually, right now what I'm doing is the National Novel Writing Month, which is global. And for the month of November, you have the full month to write 50,000 words of a novel.
Okay.
So I'm doing that. I'm at, as of this morning, I think I was at 42,000 words. So I have 2 more days.
Okay.
2 more days to finish it.
Then you're due.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
exciting.
I'll make it because I'm here. But
Yeah, that's true. And I want to thank you for your time.
Oh my gosh,
Please
it's been
share with the viewers, where can people connect with you online?
the easiest place really is SpinSucks. It's
Okay.
easy to spell, spinsucks.com.
Okay.
I'm there every day.
We'll definitely go there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.